I won't lie to you. This is a tough day. It's a tough day. No matter how I analyze this trade in the coming 40 minutes of this podcast, no matter what my take may be on the trade itself, regardless, it is a tough day. Because Mookie Betts is no longer a member of the Boston Red Sox, and that hurts. That does sting. That will be a tough pill to swallow for a long time. And while it hurts, and while it's a tough pill to swallow, and it will continue to be for a long time as the years go on, we really have to analyze this trade at face value and understand why this type of trade was made. Folks, my name is Ryan Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. You can find this podcast on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. And feel free to follow me on Twitter at Ryan Thomas Take, as well on Instagram at Ryan Thomas Take. I knew that this day was coming. Much, much sooner rather than much, much later or never. This day was coming. The Boston Red Sox last night, around 9:30 Eastern time, I should say, sent all-star right fielder, AL MVP, World Series champion, Silver Slugger Award winner, and Gold Glove Award winner, Mookie Betts, to the Los Angeles Dodgers for Alex Verdugo. And as well, the Boston Red Sox traded David Price and $52 million of his contract to the LA Dodgers, as well paying for $48 million that was remaining. Boston Red Sox also acquired a reliever in the deal from the Minnesota Twins, who is regarded as one of the best young, up-and-coming, flame-throwing relievers, maybe possibly starting pitchers in the game. The LA Dodgers also sent Jock Peterson to the LA Angels in exchange for a minor league second baseman. The Minnesota Twins also acquired Kenta Maeda in the trade from the Dodgers. So a lot of moving parts to this deal, and as you can tell, I'm a little bit dejected, a little bit befuddled, because I had really, we should not be here. We should not be here. We should not be talking about this as Red Sox fans. But mistakes made by previous regimes led us to this moment. And maybe so, but maybe not. And I'm going to dive into that. I'm going to dive into every which angle of this trade that I possibly can. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Boston Red Sox fans as the greatest fans in the major leagues today, being as diehard about the team now as they have ever been, as diehard a fan base in any sport, but by far the most diehard fan base in baseball. I never see as much social media interaction about any baseball-related team or topic than what I see with the Red Sox. So I appreciate the passion, the dedication, the fanhood of these Red Sox fans of Red Sox Nation. I've seen a lot of negativity within this. I've seen a lot of fans say that they are pissed off, agitated, irritated, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. This is the best player, was the best player on the Boston Red Sox, no doubt about it. Among a team littered with phenomenal players. Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, JD Martinez, Andrew Benintendi. Mind you, all four of those guys are still on the team. Mookie Betts was the best among those guys. But you know it, and I know it. The Boston Red Sox were not going to pay Mookie Betts $400 million. And it's not because they're cheap, and it's not because they are frugal in any way. Even if they would have offered Mookie Betts $400 million for 8 years or $400 million for 12 years, whatever type of deal Betts was looking for. They negotiated with this player for 3 seasons. 3 seasons. And couldn't get a deal done. Now, you can blame one party for that. I'm going to point the finger at both. It takes 2 to tango to make a deal happen. And the stubbornness of one party or the stubbornness of the other or both can lead to a deal falling through. And that's what we saw with the Boston Red Sox and Mookie Betts. 3 seasons in a row, this deal was negotiated and never to be agreed upon, never to be worked out. The Red Sox did everything they possibly could to try to retain Mookie Betts long term, and they couldn't get it done. Mookie Betts and his representatives were unwilling to sign a long-term deal with anyone. They go to arbitration. $27 million for 1 year was on the books for 2020. The Red Sox knew that he wasn't going to re-sign a long-term deal during the season with the Red Sox, and he was going to test the market after 2020. And they traded him. I can't necessarily fault the Sox for that. I can't fault the Red Sox for trying to get as big a return on your investment as you can possibly get. Did they do that? I mean, if you were to draw up to me what Mookie Betts was worth in a trade, I would say some more top flight prospects, a little bit more, cash, whatever, cash money, whatever. But when it is known to the team that Betts was being traded to that he is not willing to sign a long-term deal with anyone, that dumbs down the value of that said player. When a player lets it be known that he does not want to sign a long-term deal going into the last year, a 1-year deal of his arbitration, and his team knows that they then have to trade him, they're not going to get their pick of whoever they want. They're going to try to get a good a deal as they can get, but they're not going to be able to pick, prospect 1, 2, 3, 4, like they typically would if that guy was signed long-term. The Dodgers would have been more willing to give up long-term pieces had Betts already, been long-term on a contract. Because then they would have assumed that contract and they would have had Mookie Betts long-term. You're not going to give up a whole lot for a 1-year rental player, possibly. And just with that being a possibility, that led the Dodgers to trade Alex Verdugo, who is a great young up-and-coming hitter in this league. He can hit. He can field. He's 23 years old. And at one point, he was the number 1 prospect in the LA Dodgers farm system, which has been loaded for years. So that player, I'm not upset with that player. Not upset with that player at all. I understand that. I get that. What I am upset with is knowing that this didn't need to happen had other players not been re-signed. And I've said that to myself so many times, but honestly, I think I'm wrong. I think I am wrong in saying that. I think that the priority number 1 of the Dave Dombrowski days were to extend Mookie Betts. They couldn't get it done because Mookie Betts did not want to sign a long-term deal. So you had Betts coming up on a contract. You had Xander Bogaerts coming up on a contract. You had Chris Sale coming up on a contract. Sale and Bogaerts were both willing to sign long-term deals with the Red Sox, so it was easier for the Red Sox to get those deals done. This also completely changes the title picture as far as who my favorite now is for the World Series. Originally, I would have said the New York Yankees. Begrudgingly, I would have said the New York Yankees. But now I can switch gears and actually pick a team that I think that is better than them in the LA Dodgers. You look at this lineup, are you kidding me with this lineup? Are you kidding me? Who is going to want to toe the mound pitching against that lineup? That is a nightmare lineup. Murderer's row in L.A. Betts and Bellinger in one lineup. Turner, the rotation, Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw. You have Gavin Lux, who's going to be a star. You got a lot of young talent on that team as well. I've been saying this for weeks as well. With the Boston Red Sox, the biggest problem with this team is not their hitting. With or without Mookie Betts. With Mookie Betts, they didn't make the playoffs last year. Without Mookie Betts, they're probably not going to make the playoffs this year. With Mookie Betts even on the team, I don't know if they would have made the playoffs this year. That would have been a stretch, to be honest, to be fair. Hitting is not the issue. What is the problem with the Red Sox is the last few regimes that they have had, they have put Band-Aids on bullet wounds. They have overpaid players to win now, and they've neglected their farm system completely. Chaim Bloom, is looking to completely change that, completely reverse that, build through the farm system, bring in as much young talent as possible, and build a team that you can keep together for a long time. Similar to what the New York Yankees have done. Similar to what Bloom is known to have done during his time in Tampa Bay on a meager payroll. That payroll will be expanded a little bit, more than a little bit, with this type of trade. And honest to God, folks, knowing that Betts got traded is it hurts. But knowing that David Price is gone, you bet your ass I did a backflip when I heard that. David Price, for whatever reason, all credit to him for what he did to contribute to this team in 2018 as the World Series champs. He did a hell of a lot, but he just was not a fit here. He was very overpaid. The contract was a huge mistake, and they then had to go in another direction and dump that money onto another team that is really trying to go full send into a World Series championship. The LA Dodgers have not won a World Series since 1988. They want to get back there. They want to win one. They want to go back, and they've come close 2 years in a row. They lost to the Astros, and they lost to the Red Sox, and they want to get it done. The best way to do it is acquire the best right-handed hitter in baseball in Mookie Betts. Pure right-handed hitter. This does have a drastic change, implications, shall I say, to Betts and his numbers. Betts is a hitter that loves to hit those doubles off of the Green Monster. That's what he really cemented himself as, that type of hitter in Boston, in Fenway Park. You're not going to have that now at Dodger Stadium. You have an open outfield, a deeper outfield, I believe, than that of what's in Boston. The dimensions in Boston are a little bit different with the Green Monster. So what were once doubles could be outs. What were once doubles could be singles. It'll be very interesting to see how that translates, how that plays itself out. So many fans out there, whether they're not Red Sox fans or just simply baseball fans, but in particular Yankees fans, have a lot to say about this trade. They say that this trade is terrible for the Red Sox. They say that the Red Sox got rid of Mookie Betts and it doesn't make sense. They traded a face of the franchise. They had to do it. Mookie Betts would not sign a long-term deal. He wanted to hit and test the market. If the Red Sox let him finish this 1 year, $27 million deal, and they make him play, not finish, but make him play up until the trade deadline point, Mookie Betts gets hurt, then you're really demeaning the value. He's got no value at that point. So rather than taking that chance, taking that risk, they trade him before the season even started. And folks, as a Boston Red Sox fan or not, just being an analytical guy in terms of what the Red Sox team has and what they don't have, this team was not going to make the playoffs this year. They don't even have a manager, for Pete's sake. They don't even have a manager right now. This offseason has not really been kind to the Boston Red Sox. So you toss 2020 aside, you move forward with your head held high and say to yourself, we have done this once, we have done this twice, we've done this 3 times, we've done this 4 times. They've won 4 World Series championships in 16 years, all while building teams only to watch them fall apart and rebuild them again. Only to watch them fall apart, rebuild them again, only to watch them fall apart and again rebuild them again. So now here we are doing the exact same thing we did 2013, 2014, 5-6 years later. But Chaim Bloom does not want to do this every 5-6 year thing. He wants to build a team for the next 10 to 12, 15 years that this Red Sox fan base can rely on and form a true backing around. I knew it as well as anyone that beyond 2018, this team was going to fall apart. There's only so much money to go around, even with a team that has money. When you misspend that money, a domino falls into another one, into another one, and into another one, and so on and so forth. Not only when you misspend that money, but when you want to clear payroll for players that no one wants to really take. That was as good a case of scenario for the Price trade that someone was willing to take a little bit more than half of his contract on, where most teams wouldn't even sniff at David Price and taking on any of his contract, because that contract was one of the worst that the Red Sox have signed in recent memory, which says a ton. Obviously, we have the Pablo Sandoval situation, the Rusney Castillo situation, and a few more, obviously, along the years. Along the way. You bet your ass it'll suck seeing Mookie Betts in an LA Dodgers uniform. You betcha. It'll stink. It won't be fun. But they literally did the only thing that they could do. And as Red Sox fans, we have to live with that. We have to live with that. We have to understand that. And back to my original point as far as Yankees fans go, good buddy of mine, Zach Sheldon, he said, my team would never trade the face of a franchise. My team would never do that. Your team didn't have to pay Derek Jeter $420 million. The contracts in the sport of baseball have become even more ridiculous than what they were before, and your team went out and mucked up the waters by bringing in a bona fide asshole in Alexander Rodriguez to join Derek Jeter. Meanwhile, Derek Jeter didn't want Alexander Rodriguez. It is what it is. Mike Trout got $420 million, and he hasn't made the playoffs in 7 years. Let's just be honest. Let's call a spade here. Is Mike Trout one of the best players in the game? Yes, he is probably the best player that baseball has to offer. But when you pay one player that much money, even on a high-budget team, let alone a team with a so-so budget in Anaheim with the Angels, who are you going to build around him to make it into a World Series team? You brought in Anthony Rendon. You got a couple pieces. You got Jock Peterson now in this trade. But outside of that, you're barely fighting for a wild card spot every year in that division with who they have. And that division is not that great, but the Oakland A's somehow have been able to find more success than that of the Angels the last few years, at least attempting to make a playoff run. And we know the Oakland A's have a much smaller budget than the Angels. Do I need to even bring up Bryce Harper? Do I even need to bring up the fact that the Philadelphia Phillies brought in Bryce Harper $330 million for 13 years? And the first year that Bryce Harper is on the team, when everyone in the USA Today is labeling the Philadelphia Phillies as the World Series favorite, you know what happens after that? The Philadelphia Phillies don't even make the damn playoffs. You know what happens after that? The Washington Nationals go on a run. They do make the playoffs, and they win the World Series without Bryce Harper. Gee, I wonder if the light bulb went off to Chaim Bloom that, the Nationals got rid of their best player, and they won a World Series off of it. They were able to spread so much money around. Let's try to do that. Let's try to somewhat resemble that. Manny Machado to the San Diego Padres for $300 million. I mean, these deals are insane, and we knew they would be. And if anyone had any case at all to say, I deserve more than Mike Trout, it was Mookie Betts. He won a Silver Slugger, an AL MVP, a Gold Glove, batting title, and a World Series all in one season. No player in Major League Baseball history has ever done that. So if there was anyone that could pound their chest and say, I want my money in the free agent market, I want 29 teams to bid for my services, and I want to go to whichever team offers me the most money. He already got his ring. He's not playing for more rings. He's playing for money. In this trade, going to the Dodgers, he's going to get his money, and he's probably going to get a ring. But for the LA Dodgers, they traded a 23-year-old young future star for a player that might essentially end up being a one-year rental. And you have fans out there saying that the Red Sox got hosed. Did they get the utmost package that they could possibly get for Mookie Betts? No, they didn't. Did they get as much as they could for a player that could possibly be a one-year rental to the LA Dodgers? Yes, they did. Do you think the Baltimore Orioles fans felt like they got the most for Manny Machado when they traded Machado to the Dodgers? No. But the Dodgers benefited from that situation and scenario that Manny Machado was on the last year of his contract. Now, where the Dodgers went wrong with Manny Machado, they'll have to go right with Mookie Betts in convincing Betts that L.A., the city of Los Angeles, is the greatest city in the country. I think that's debatable, but neither here nor there. How did the Boston Red Sox get here, by the way? I always like to ask and answer that question. How the hell did the Boston Red Sox get here, by the way? How did they find Mookie Betts? What happened when Johnny Damon left? They found Jacoby Ellsbury. What happened when Jacoby Ellsbury left? Oh, they found Mookie Betts. What happens when Mookie Betts leaves? Oh, well, they got Alex Verdugo, and they're going to have a cleared out payroll to spend money on some young talent. Oh. Okay. We're talking about the Boston Red Sox here. We're talking about one of the premier organizations in sports. Not just in baseball, but in sports. I would refer to the New York Yankees as the exact same thing. One of the premier organizations in baseball, one of the premier organizations in sports, a staple of a sport. They will be able to find young talent. They will be able to spend money that they would not have been able to spend had they signed Mookie Betts to a $40 million a year contract for a player that, mind you, right now is 27, that will be 28 during the season. A 10-year deal to a 28-year-old outfielder. That makes sense. That does not make sense. Just like paying Garrett Cole, who's a pitcher that doesn't even play every day, $325 million over a 9-year contract. But hey, these players know what they're doing. The agents know what they're doing. The market value continues to rise. And these teams that are so desperate for that one player that they feel like can get them over the hump, well, they're willing to do whatever it takes. And the LA Dodgers and the New York Yankees, they're willing to overpay for Cole or overpay for a starter. You know, he was reported to receive an offer in excess of $280 million from the Angels. The Yankees say, hold my beer, we'll pay him $325. The Boston Red Sox say Mookie Betts doesn't want to sign a long-term deal, as does Mookie. Well, hold my beer, we're going to trade him for something while we can. Is there anything wrong there? No, there's not. No, there is not. The last time the Boston Red Sox made a move like this, and I will refer to it as a move like this because it was a payroll cash flow move, was when they traded Adrian Gonzalez, Carl Crawford, Josh Beckett to the LA Dodgers and cleared so much money off the books. And they eventually, that same season, won the World Series largely off of that trade, because with the money that they got back, they went out and they signed Shane Victorino. They got a few veteran players like Johnny Gomes that fit the clubhouse, fit the team, and they went on a run. Also, the motivation of the Boston Marathon and all that, I think, had a lot to do with the Red Sox and their success that season. But it is what it is. We had to clear some payroll. We had to make something happen. They did. And the only thing we can do now as Red Sox fans is just thank Mookie for the years that he spent here. Thank him for helping this team get to the World Series in 2018. I think it'll be their last World Series for a little while. And I'm okay with the Red Sox taking a few years to rebuild, retool, revamp their team in order to get to where they need to be for the future and beyond. This season is not about 2020. This season is about 2021. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and take care.